provide some on-site support with volunteers for 1 to 3 weeks. In terms of research, what we want to do is, as Mackenzie said, we're trying to scale this up, so we want to prove impact. Research will start out with pre-assessment surveys and interviews. So in the past, we've used a child-friendly Likert scale. You can see the smiley faces there. We've asked kids key questions about collaboration, how easy it is for them to access information, stuff that the laptops can enable. Midway through the semester, what we want to do is think about, are we achieving what we want to achieve with this pilot? Is this working? And then at the end, we would actually want to administer the surveys and interviews for a second time to see if there are changes. And the hope would be that we could see positive impact and then maybe expand the pilot in the 2 schools that we've worked with to other grades, and then beyond Hong Kong, potentially to work in China or Cambodia. The other thing at DigiLit that we really promote is once we've donated laptops to an organization, they belong to that organization fully. So all the key decisions are made by the school. The school owns the program now. DigiLit does not own the program. However, we do want to provide a framework for the school to think about how they might set up the deployment this fall. We think there are about 6 key elements. In terms of setup, so this time we did work with a classroom. We're hoping that a classroom does ultimately adopt the XOs. What might be more feasible for the school is to have a lending library, but that's a consideration that the school should be thinking about. Secondly, in terms of participation, there may be certain grade levels that they want to restrict XOs to. At the primary schools we worked at, all those students probably could have access. There's no maximum age there, but it might make sense to start out with just the kindergarten students. Level of integration, so what subjects should the XOs support? And then should XOs be taken home? Exposure, how often should the XOs be used? And does this differ by academic subject? And the answer to that is probably yes. There are areas where the XO makes sense as an integration point, and there are areas where it makes less sense. And then in terms of outside support, so that's what we're here to talk to you all about today, what volunteer groups can help with the project beyond DigiLit, since it will need some on-site support that we can't provide over the course of the fall. And then research, do we have the resources to complete a research study of the XO's impact so that we can sort of provide a foundation for the scaling up of the project that we would like to see happen over the course of the year.
So this is a list of our partner organizations, and you'll see that we have some that are based in the United States, so the Boston University School of Management. There are a few other organizations on the left-hand side, and we just want to quickly draw your attention to some of our other international placements. So in addition to the pilot that that Caitlin spoke about in Managua, we've also extensively worked with Sita, Software for Education, Entertainment, and Training Activities, which is based in New Delhi. And that relationship has been especially helpful in terms of development of activities, so in development of sugar-based activities. And so this organization developed Social Calc, which is the sister software application to Excel, which we found extraordinarily useful in our pilots. And so we did a combination of testing for them, and they were able to integrate upgrades into their software program based upon our feedback. And we found that type of relationship with organizations has been really great in refining the capabilities of the XO. So that was a great relationship, and we've also worked extensively with One Laptop Per Child Australia, and they are similarly entering a new phase of training where they are remotely training their teachers, and so we have worked with them on developing, and if you, Caitlin, feel free to expand on that, but basically the online platform that they've developed for educators, so kind of distance learning module that they've used, that they've found to be quite successful in terms of setting up pilots in more remote locations where it's not possible to always have volunteer ground support to train the teachers directly.
Yeah, and there's an interesting nuance there that I'll just pull out. They work with early adopters, so this is sort of a new concept within the One Laptop Per Child international community. They actually have teachers seek them out and principals seek them out instead of seeking out their deployment areas, and they end up getting a lot of enthusiasm from the beginning. They actually charge schools a small nominal fee for the laptops, and that creates more of a sense of buy-in. So it's a really interesting new model, and we're excited to see what comes out of it. So what we want to do now is transition into more of a demo. We wanted to talk to you about how we develop curriculum and also run through an XO Basics activity. If there is appetite in the room for actually walking through a lesson, I just want to get a sense now, who would like to spend 5 minutes maybe just walking through a concrete lesson and learning a little bit more about how we think about creating these lessons? Is that something that people are interested in? Okay, cool. We have just a few copies. I think some of you may have already gotten some. Let me just cluster.
And
We can hand out multiples. I think I'll go over. What do you think? Maybe I'll go over as far as
sorry.
there's more.
You know what? I think we are gonna.
I'll go over my community.
I'm just gonna.
This is the one we're gonna go over, and then maybe you guys will share that. Okay. So we're passing out multiple lesson plans so you can take a look later. We'll also make sure that you have our web address. We do have all of our lessons on there. But today what we'll do is we'll walk through my community. So can everybody kind of cluster and get a chance to look at this lesson? Yeah. So does everybody have some access to my community? It's not a huge deal if you don't. So the way that we think about lesson planning is we want to make sure that we're very clear about what activities, those are the software applications, that we want to use. We make that clear up front. And then we talk about objectives. So we're very clear again, what do we want the students to get out of this? Background, we go through the topics that the lesson covers. And then pre-learning is sort of this way of using what do students already know? How can we give them some context for the lesson plan so that it's not confusing? Then we move into the guided learning. So this is actually the part that happens in the classroom where the teachers walk the students through these steps. And again, you know, all of this can be tailored to different age groups. You can modify the activities if certain software isn't available. We're really open to changes, but we use this as a way to show the teachers the power of the XO. And then post-learning is a way to expand the lesson if the teachers desire something longer term. So this, you know, harkens back to a discussion that we kind of pointed out earlier, which is we do both lesson planning but long-term curriculum development as well. And then we give the teachers some ideas for how they could customize the activity to their classroom and a few web links for resources. So let's actually just walk through this one. My community is designed to get students talking about their own communities, so the neighborhoods that they live in. What we want them to do is pull out different facts and historical perspectives about their community, understand the geography, and kind of share that information with their peers. So the topics that the lesson covers are we have students use Browse to do some research about their specific neighborhood, and then they actually look it up on the map, take a screenshot of that so they have the image, pull that into the write activity, which is like a word processor. And then we have them write a short paragraph about their community. So you can see screenshots on the second page of what the map activity looks like. It's actually a Google Maps hack. But students can search for their specific community, take a picture, and then on page 3, do research on the internet or using WikiBrowse to find information such as population, sister cities. Again, all of this can be customized. Pull that into the write activity and write a story about it and then present that to the class. So that's just one example of the type of lesson that we prepare for the teachers we work with. So now what we want to do is actually turn over to an interactive demo. I think we have 3 XOs in the room.
For those who have not used it, maybe this one. They have used it, so they don't have. For those who have not used it,
Okay.
these ladies are fortunate. This is the 1.5 XO, which is much faster. Ours is 1.0.
So as people are getting set up, I think, does everyone have a copy of this or access to a copy of this? Some of you may have already used the XO, but for folks who haven't, they try to cluster around somebody who has one.
And I know that in addition to the My Community lesson plan, we were passing out others. And so that should give you a sense of how you can incorporate the EXO into a biology class. We've got Inside the Cell is one of our lesson plans. Measurement is one that uses the ruler activity, and social calc. And social calc is our Excel equivalent. You've got ones that, in addition to MAP, are also using PIPI, so getting a sense of how computer science works. And so our bank of lesson plans that we've developed really cover the spectrum when it comes to incorporating activities into science, math, and humanities-based classes.
So if you'll turn to the second page in the EXO Basics handout, this talks a little bit about navigation. So the key to understanding how to use the EXO is really around these 4 buttons up here in the corner. The first one represents the neighborhood, so if everybody could click on that. The neighborhood view is where you actually connect to the internet, and it also shows Wi-Fi hotspots. So you'll probably see some circles for Wi-Fi in the area. You can also see EXOs in the vicinity, and then activities that you're sharing. And so that's a key element of the EXO as well that we haven't mentioned. The EXO has a mesh network, so it will sense all the EXOs in the vicinity. It's actually something that they're thinking about adding to cell phones, but the EXO right now is still one of the only technologies that has a mesh network. So you can connect to other people's EXOs without internet. So it's really important for rural deployments like the ones that Siddhampa has worked on, where wireless internet is just something that may not be available. And then the next button, so that has the 3 dots, that's next out of those 4, that's the group view. So that shows the user and people that they have friended. So like Facebook, you can make EXO laptop friends. They'll actually show up there, and then you can start chat with them, or you could share activities. You can actually be typing in the same Word document or Write document. Then if you click on the next button, that's the home screen, so that has a single dot in the center. That's really where all of the activities are. That's where the journal is. That's where kids spend a lot of time. It's used for launching different activities, and then they can access the journal from there, and that shows what activities they've been using, as well as the documents that they've saved on their EXO. And then if you click on the last circle with a square in the middle, that's the activity page, and that shows the particular activity that students are working on at the time. So we won't connect to the network now. For those of you who have this handout, feel free to keep it for future reference. But we'll actually go into the journal briefly. So if you click on this icon, the little notebook icon, does everybody see that on the home screen? Maybe we can have people go around and kind of, I guess. You see the journal. So there it is. So it's under the EXO man on the, yep, there we go.
Show contents?
Yeah, exactly. So if you show the contents of the journal, that's going to show you what activities have been opened on the EXO. And it's also going to show saved documents. So the reason why this is unique and important is that teachers can actually look at the journal and see what their students have been up to, and use that as an easy way to collect homework assignments. And it also allows them to see what students have been doing on the EXO, so it's another way to keep this from becoming a toy. And then I'll actually just talk through a couple of the activities. Feel free to open them if you'd like, but we'll do this kind of quickly. The first activity is browse. I don't know if we have internet in here, but that's a lot like Google Chrome or Firefox. I think it actually is a Firefox hack. But this is where students access the internet. And then if you turn to the next page, the next activity is Write. So we mentioned this before, but this is like Microsoft Word for kids. So it's a much simpler version of Word. And they can actually write stories. They can change simple things like font and color. They can import images into essays. It's just a very child-friendly way to think about word processing. And then the third activity is the calculator. So it provides a generic calculator, but also some more advanced functions that you would even see on like a more expensive calculator. So that replaces having to purchase an extra piece of hardware like that for math classrooms.
Well, it's kind of a calculator.
I'll give people a second to check that one out. Okay. Has everybody had a chance to open Calculate and check out that activity? So after you've had a chance to look at Calculate, check out Memorize. This is one of the flashier activities on the XO. It's a memory game, and students can actually import images and create their own memory games and use the Speak application to pronounce words. So one of the major uses is, math, using it for addition or foreign language, and actually hearing that pronunciation. So it's a great way to practice. We actually used it in our classrooms. We had students take pictures of different colors around the classroom, and then they imported the images and wrote the English word so that they could practice their English. A way to take it one step farther would be to actually use Speak to pronounce the word. So it just adds an added layer.
And do you want to add anything to that? Because I saw one of your slides incorporate Speak into your classroom. Oh, no. I mean, Sanaka in her presentation had a similar use of Speak in Peru, which I think was really effective. That slide was great, seeing how you incorporated it.
And then Speak, so this is also a pretty cool activity. This is an activity that students can go to and type in an English word. I think there's a Spanish version as well. It may not have language capabilities beyond English and Spanish right now, but they can type in the word at the bottom and actually hear it spoken by the robot. And the kids absolutely loved this in the classroom on Monday. So we had them actually prepare a little story to present to the class, and it had some English words in it that were maybe a little bit difficult for them to pronounce. And then we had them type those words into Speak later to hear the pronunciation and get to practice again. And then Turtle Art is the next activity. So Turtle Art it provides a simple programming interface for children. There's several activities on the XOs that are programming oriented that are based on child-friendly programming languages, and Turtle Art is one. So it's visual. So students can actually drag blocks to make a little turtle animation move on the screen. And it gives them a sense of logic and just simple computer programming. So, for example, the way we introduced this to the kindergarten classroom on Monday was we said, how would you talk to a computer? And we had them open Turtle Art to see the turtle, and then we had them talk to the computer, verbally. And of course, the turtle didn't move. And then we had them think about different things they could do to make the turtle move. And so we finally shared with them, computers have a special language, and you have to use this language to get the turtle to move. And then they made some really cool designs with it and shared it with the class. And then finally, we'll talk about Record. So everybody definitely wants to open this one because it's one of the coolest ones on the XO. It's the eye icon. This is the XO's video, camera, and audio capability. And so we've used this quite a bit over the past couple of days. We had students make a video introducing themselves and then present that to the class. We had them take a lot of images, and I think this is really at the core of how the XO becomes this hands-on tool that's really mobile. You're moving around the classroom. Sadanka talked about hands-on learning. It's just inherent in using XOs in the classroom. There's no way to avoid hands-on learning when you're using XOs. So one of the more powerful activities on the XO. So that's it for the demo. Does anybody have any more XO related questions while we're in the demo? I have a feeling this is going to be a bad question.
Can you talk more about the learning management system that you use? Oh no, you didn't guys. Australia, it's the OLPC Australia, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So OLPC Australia, as I mentioned before, is working with early adopters, and so we initially were working with them on designing a portal, almost like a Facebook for teachers, that would allow teachers to join and upload lesson plans and then share those. That became very ambitious. What we decided to do is hold off on that. In the meantime, what they have done is they've created a training curriculum for children, teachers, and principals. And there are different levels. You can be, XO certified, and you actually get a certificate. You can be an XO expert if you know more of the technical background and can actually do some of the fixing of laptops. So there are different tiers that you get when you complete different training modules in their online system. And I'm sure that they would be happy to share that if people are interested in actually seeing the interface. But they have had a lot of teachers in Australia go through this process and then become EXO certified. That creates more buy-in. It shows enthusiasm on the part of the teachers, and it adds to the sustainability of their programs. And it also keeps them from having to fly volunteers around the country. So it's also, from a logistics perspective, a lot less complicated.
So the learning portal is it's on hold right now.
The learning portal is on hold right now, and we're still trying to think about and would love ideas to how we can get teachers talking to each other and sharing lessons. Because I think, our lesson library was a great way for us to start. What we realized is that the customization that needs to happen and just the expansion of the library is something that we cannot do as an organization, and it does not make sense for us to do that. So I think that's where we would want to crowdsource lessons and get people talking, get people problem solving online. It's just very hard because it adds, a whole nother social network. I think we're all part of too many social networks now. But, are definitely still exploring ways to do that. And maybe it's just as simple as having a mechanism for uploading lessons as people complete them.
You mentioned you have tried Thinkpad and then you have tried EXO. So what is the differences?
So on the Thinkpads, we actually used Microsoft software, just, a typical PC. I don't know if you've used a Thinkpad before. It's just a clunky PC. Still child-friendly, but we used Microsoft software. And I think it was less effective, to be honest with you. It has more traditional points of integration in the classroom, but you're typically going to use, Word, PowerPoint, do some internet browsing, and that's really about it. It doesn't have the video capabilities. It doesn't have the child-friendly software. To upgrade the software in the system, you have to pay. That's another nuance to using open source software. Not only is it free now, it's free tomorrow. It's free 2 years from now. All the updates you can actually load to the computer. So we probably would not work with Thinkpads again. As I did mention, we are hardware neutral. For now, we're sticking with the EXO. We're really excited to see the EXO tablet and some of the new hardware developments that One Laptop Per Child is releasing over the next year. We have considered Apple hardware like iPads and maybe the iPad mini, which I think is coming out in a few months. But those are a lot of the considerations that we're constantly thinking about as an organization.
Can you talk more about the software development in India? How long did you collaborate with them, and also did any local activities being developed for local students or?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So we've collaborated with Sita for about 5 years. I would say the software piece of it was about 6 months long. So while Mackenzie and I were working at the Cambridge Friends School, which she talked about earlier, we piloted Social Calc, which at the time was relatively new. It was in one of the first or second versions. We had the students use it over the course of the semester, so about 4 or 5 months. And then after that, we did an assessment, and we had them say specifically what it was that they found difficult or challenging about the software. So we got actually some great responses. We used a visual interview mechanism, so we had them draw pictures even of what they wanted the interface to look like. We got really specific feedback. Like I remember the students wanted to be able to change the colors. The colors are automatic in Social Calc, and they wanted to choose the colors on their own. So there were just little specific pieces of feedback that Sita found so helpful and were able to incorporate in later releases. But we do continue to work with them. Manushil Gupta, I think some folks in here might know him actually. He's the head of it over there. We have talked about doing a deployment in Delhi. I'm not sure that we would use the EXO. They are more software focused, but we would for sure leverage their software expertise if we worked with Sita in Delhi. So
basically, so it's not hardware specific, but it should be what on students, right?
Exactly. So that's an important nuance. Sugar is not hardware specific. So deployments in the U.S. and around the world can also be based on Sugar on a Stick, and that's where you use a USB drive. It functions as an emulator, and then you can actually put that into a PC, boot it up in Sugar. It looks just like the EXO screen. It doesn't have some of the same functionality like the video capabilities. Kelvin can show an example.
This is the EXO on a Stick 7, the newest version of EXO. You can install it on a regular computer.
Oh.
And so, an example of why this might be helpful. There was a deployment in a very difficult neighborhood in Boston, and the school did not want the students carrying laptops out of the school because they might actually be in danger. So they used sugar on a stick in the classroom, and then the students had home computers and were able to transport the USB drive home, boot it up, have everything saved on there. It looked like the XO, and then use it that way. So that's one reason why you might want to consider that.
So if Sita develops some specific activity on the sugars, could we get those activities from the sugars?
Absolutely. You can download them online. And I can even share Manu's contact information with you so that he can give you the latest. He's awesome. So, Social Calc has also been adopted by several governments too, because it is an open source version of Excel and it's very powerful. So they find that attractive because they don't have to pay for new releases, and Microsoft Office, as we know, is quite expensive. So.
Very expensive.
Yeah. Any other questions? Do you all have questions about what volunteering could look like at the schools or how you could plug in? Are people interested in maybe visiting the classroom later this fall? Sorry.
We'll have another presentation.
Perfect.
I think everybody knows TK.
But have you finished?
Yeah, if no one else
We have
has.
to show the video.
Yes, we should show the video of what we did in the classroom on Monday and Tuesday.
From
She gave you one of.
giving the laptop to them. Okay, so I think the first one is you see it everywhere in the world when they give their laptops. It's kind of excitement. First exposure. The big file it takes some time to load, I think. Yeah.
Does that sound good? Yay! Okay. Spirit. Okay. So this is the EXO laptop.
I'm going to take my
EXO? This little man. XO. 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 Nice. Okay. So we're going to pass these out, and every one of you guys is going to get one laptop to work with for the day. And then we're going to do some activities with the laptop. Does that sound good? Yeah. Okay. You're welcome. Okay, does everybody have a laptop? Yay! Okay, so now we're going to go through, we're going to learn how to use the laptop. We're going to meet the EXO laptop. Can you say hello? Yeah. To your laptop? Okay. Special ears. You know what ears are? Everybody look at ears.
Nhị chạy hả?
The EXO has no ears, just like us. So you're going to click these up. So you've already got it. Can everybody click up the ears? Does everybody have it? So here's the size ears. You want to Yay! Okay. And then looking for so once you've clicked up the ears, you're going to lift it up. Good job. And then once everybody has opened their laptop, which should be like I have. Yeah, nice job. High five. Nice job. Okay. Now we're going to turn the laptop on. So this button right here, I want you to press. Can everybody press this button? And you're going to hear that little sound. Yeah. So this button right here, you press that. Let's keep the ears up.
繼續個耳仔要起嘅，起個耳仔好似一個 bunny，like a bunny rabbit here, rabbit here. Looks nice, right?
I haven't heard TK before.
It's cute, right? So, when you see, can I borrow this for 1 second? I'll give it right back to you. When you see this screen right here, I want you to raise your hand. Can everybody do that?
舉手啊！如果睇到嗰個圖畫，
You raise your hand high.
睇到呢個畫面就舉手啦。啊！
Raise your hand high.
舉手啦！舉手啦！見到未？舉手啊！你個未撈到嚟啊？你打下先，你未撈到啊？舉手！舉手！你要舉手啊！舉手啊！舉手！
Does everybody have their hand raised? Problem with that one. Okay.
A lot of yeah, right? Yeah, yeah. Epic yeah.
Everybody's got their hand raised. Okay. This is the home screen on the Exo laptop.
Okay, so this is the what we call the first encounter. And you may want to explain the photo, the taking of color.
Well, let's put some time here in this discussion. All right?
No, we still have another one because
Another one,
that
okay.
is just the first time that they're exposed to. What we want to show now is day 2 after another 2. We have 2 hours and the next day another 2 hours. So you want to explain the activity that they're doing, that they're taking some photos of the colors?
Oh, the memorize
Yeah.
activity.
So-
Yeah, so I alluded to that earlier, but essentially we had them use memorize, so that's the matching game activity that I think some of you guys opened on your Exos. And they went around the room and they took these little plastic puzzle pieces and took pictures of them of different colors, and then uploaded the pictures into memorize, translated it into English, and built their own game. And then we had them play the game so they get better.
So this is where they're using the record the camera to take the photos of each color.
Oh. They're doing a memory game.
So they're putting the color in the camera and click. So we give them 5-6 different colors. So they take 5 to 6 photos and it's stored in the computer. And what happened after that is that they start to import the pictures into the memory game, and you can see actually what they're doing. So let's say if they have the color yellow, they have to type in yellow in another box so that it can be matched, right? So you can see the kid actually doing it here.
Lấy cái này cho nó. Cái mấy cái là
Yeah. So they were
So they have to import the color. Like, so this is the picture screen. This is the color. It's really important in that program. And if you finish playing, it's gaming.
mấy cái là yellow打 yellow Y 點啊？
One yellow.係啊，因為啊，係啊，係啊，not me typing is the typing. So they got a picture of that on yellow, they type yellow, and then you have to block
你玩，你跟住可以俾佢哋玩佢嗰個啊，你開咯，繼續開咯。
So it's like that. Children we ask you, we have to look after the look after them.
So where's that 18? Yes! Great job!
Hay lắm, đi cơ mà. Hay lắm, WHIT à, WHIT. I'm having some problem here.
Scaffolding, right? Scaffolding. Give them a control and then do it on your own. WHI.
Ủa đó.
See, they click on that one, import. This where the pictures are taken in, so they import into that program.
Hay đây bạn.
In Sugar, you don't save, you don't open file and save file.
Now we have problem.
Each time you do, it's always save for you, right?
我哋依個俾翻老師啦，冇電啦，no battery。即刻插佢啦，做埋咪啦。
Okay, after you finish, you will play with it.
好啦，而家開始玩個遊戲嚟試下。preview。
Preview the game that you have
佢試下
created.
先，做下先，睇下結咗幾多。睇仲有冇先啊？誒，就係嗰個。哦，先有啊，攞。好，咁。
I'm very used to having a camera and teaching. Typically still at cockpit, recording it.
慢慢推，係啦，係，好啦，嘅拍影咩 ？Sorry，得啦。OR